It's time for one of those videos, but with action anime. Today I'm going to count down the best action anime of each year starting from 2001. Let's go! Once upon a time, there's a secret British organization that hunts scary monsters, and when vampires start turning villages into ghouls, their leader sends Alucard to clean up the mess. Now, if you've been paying attention, Alucard is Dracula spelled backwards. During the fight, a young officer named Ceres gets seriously hurt, and Alucard gives her a huge choice: stay human and die, or become a vampire and live. She picks survival, leading to hilarious struggles with her new powers while fighting crazy monsters on the job.
どういてのヒューマンクソのようなクールになりたくなければな
This show takes vampire stories in a super cool direction with religious stuff and old book references instead of just boring love stories. Alucard is basically the strongest guy ever, and seeing Ceres learn her new skills is a fun way to watch. The graphics are kind of weird sometimes and the story gets a little confusing later, but the characters are so awesome that you won't even notice. If you like action and cool fights, you should totally give this a try. Oh yeah, it's time for my boy! 2002 is the year the legendary manga got adapted. Come on, you know how this goes. 12 years before the story begins, a massive nine-tailed fox demon attacks the Hidden Leaf Village. The Hokage sealed the beast inside a newborn Naruto Uzumaki, saving everyone but condemning the kid to a life of isolation and hatred. Now a hyperactive troublemaker with big dreams, Naruto wants nothing more than to become Hokage and make everyone acknowledge him.
例の子よ。一人だけ落ちたらしいわ。いい君だわ。
What makes Naruto special is that Kishimoto didn't turn him into an instant warrior. He's a lonely kid with a monster inside, just desperate for people to see him as something else. Watching him struggle through brutal training, suffer losses, and still keep going feels different from those easy power fantasies. The team's bond, full of rivalry and real friendship, gives the story heart, and the inventive ninja techniques make every battle feel like a hard-earned victory. This is the first manga I ever read and the first anime I ever watched, so this is always going to have a special place in my heart.
誇りを捨ててそうまでして生きる意味があるのか
偉そうに言うなよ死に損ない
Wolf's Rain drops you into a post-apocalyptic wasteland where wolves thought to be extinct secretly walk among humans disguised as people. A lone wolf named Kiba follows a mysterious scent to Free City where he meets three other wolves, Hige, Tsume, and Tobe, all pulled in by the same fragrance. Together, they chase the scent of lunar flowers, the mythical key to paradise, walking through ruined cities and dead landscapes. But others want paradise too, and they aren't exactly friendly about it.
楽園か面白そうだ俺は牙
Wolf's Rain is one of those shows that just sticks with you. The whole wolves searching for paradise concept sounds simple, but the way each wolf has a completely different reason for making the journey is what makes it compelling. Kiba's blind faith, Tsume's cynicism, Tobe's innocence, it's all so interesting to watch. The desolate world building makes every small moment of hope hit harder. If you like dark, atmospheric adventures with actual emotional weight, this one's worth the journey.
俺は黒崎一護だ
Once again, it's the birth of a legend. The third and final anime of the legendary Big Three. Ichigo Kurosaki is your average high schooler until a corrupt spirit called a Hollow attacks his family. After a chance encounter with Soul Reaper Rukia Kuchiki, who gets injured protecting them, Ichigo absorbs her powers and takes on the job of hunting Hollows himself.
自らの力で破る人間など見たことがない。
Bleach hits different. Yeah, the manga has its cliches and a rush ending, but when Ichigo steps up to protect someone, you feel it. Not because the show tells you to, but because you've watched him lose, bleed, and still get back up every single time. And now with the remake animating the final arc and giving some slick animation, now it's a really good time to pick this anime.
Gonna live.
Why are you looking so relaxed? You're gonna tag along with us.
dumbass.
You're joking. You're joking, right?
Now shut up and walk.
Yep, this is that anime where a lady curses in English. Burned out Japanese salaryman Rokuro Kokajima gets kidnapped by the Lagoon family, a crew of pirate mercenaries, during a business trip gone completely sideways. His company refuses to pay the ransom, so Rokuro does what any sensible person would do. He joins them. Now living in Roanpur, a city where crime is basically the local culture, Rokuro has to figure out how to survive while constantly butting heads with Revi, the crew's trigger-happy, zero-filter gunslinger.
She's smiling.
Black Lagoon scratches an itch most anime forgets exists. A grounded Hollywood-style action show with zero magic systems or mech suits. The action sequences are genuinely chaotic and fun to watch. What keeps it interesting, though, is Rock and Revi's dynamic. Rock acts as the audience's moral compass, questioning every brutal decision around him without being preachy about it, while Revi makes you cheer for her 1 minute and question your life choices the next. This is what happens when Tarantino decides to direct an anime.
一時が万事金さえもらえば何でもやるよ
Ever seen samurai fight aliens? Now you're going to. Edo was once a city alive with samurai ambition, but after feudal Japan surrendered to powerful aliens called Amanto, the shogunate becomes a puppet government and swords are banned in public. Enter Gintoki Sakata, a silver-haired oddball carrying a wooden sword who still calls himself a samurai. He runs Yorozura, a jack-of-all-trades business, alongside Shinpachi, a glasses-wearing samurai wannabe, Kagura, a tomboyish girl with superhuman strength.
命の心配をしたらどうだ
Gintama does something most comedy anime completely fail at. It makes situational humor actually land. Rather than drowning you in school-setting cliches or cheap fan service gags, it takes completely mundane situations and somehow turns them into comedic gold. Running out of toilet paper becomes a whole thing. A canon with an absolutely unhinged name becomes legendary. And more than anything, when the emotional arcs like the Shogunate Assassin arc comes along, it becomes one of the best shonen anime of all time.
あばよちはむら俺たちは地上へ行くガキの時見た地上へな
Simon and Kamina are two guys from an underground village who've never seen the sky. Kamina's the loud, reckless dreamer. Simon's the quiet kid just digging tunnels. Everything changes when Simon uncovers an ancient mecha key. They bust out a war machine called Login, team up with gun-toting redhead Yoko, and claw their way to the surface. What follows is a full-blown war against the Beastmen, giant robots, and eventually something much, much bigger.
一難去ってまた一難みたい。
Gurren Lagann doesn't care about logic, and that's exactly the point. Kamina screams impossible speeches, Simon goes from timid digger to someone who'd make Dragon Ball Z characters sweat, and every battle escalates until you're wondering if the universe itself is enough. The character growth actually earns its emotions. Simon doesn't just get stronger, he breaks, rebuilds, and comes back swinging with actual conviction. There's also some really emotional deaths in this, so go with your tissue boxes.
Well, What are we supposed to do, Revi? How is that even a question? The 80 grand, the 150 grand, and their lives. No reason we can't take them all, right?
Yep, we're back again with some Hollywood action. You remember the old story? Roruko Okajima traded his salaryman desk for a pirate's crew gunboat. And honestly, things didn't get better. Just way more interesting. Now operating out of Roanpur, Thailand's most lawless hellhole, Rock works alongside the Lagoon Company, a mercenary group that shoots first and asks never.
Get down!
Second Barrage picks up exactly where Season 1 left off, and the action stays just as explosive throughout. The standout here is the final arc, the full-blown war between the Japanese Yakuza and Hotel Moscow that drags Rock face-to-face with his abandoned past. There's also a murderous children arc early on that's equal parts disturbing and brilliant. The Greenback Jane arc drags a little, but the rest more than compensates. You'll finish this wanting more. Luckily, more exists. And in the third season, you'll see what happens when a maid gets angry.
少佐今だ了解しました
Time for the anime masterpiece, and the single anime that dominated the MyAnimeList charts for the longest time. Two brothers, Edward and Alphonse Elric, break alchemy's most sacred rule by attempting to resurrect their dead mother. The attempt catastrophically backfires. Al loses his entire body while Ed loses a leg and sacrifices his arm to bind Al's soul into a suit of armor. Rescued by their neighbor, Winry, a mechanical prodigy, Ed gets fitted with prosthetic automail limbs. The brothers then set out searching for the Philosopher's Stone, a legendary artifact that could bypass alchemy's law of equivalent exchange and restore what they lost.
今地獄へ一歩踏み出したぜ
FMA Brotherhood nails what most long-running shonen anime completely fumble. Zero filler, zero wasted episodes. Every scene pushes the story forward. The cast is massive, yet nobody feels pointless. With characters like Ling Yao and Roy Mustang getting proper development that actually changes how their storylines play out. The action escalates perfectly, each fight somehow topping the last. Yes, early pacing is aggressive, but stick with it. This one earns every emotional gut punch it throws at you, and oh my god, every season of this show is so good.
ざまみれくんちくしゅう
首から上がないの
Durara is set in Ikebukuro, one of Tokyo's liveliest districts, where urban legends and dangerous rumors run wild. When small-town kid Mikado Ryugamine moves there after his childhood friend Masamori convinces him, he expects excitement. Boy, does he get it. The city is crawling with colorful characters. Shizuo, the bartender dressed strongman, Izeya, a smug information dealer who manipulates people for fun, the mysterious headless black rider haunting the streets at night.
僕はその時自分の体が震えているのに気づいた怖かったんじゃない
This show has it all. Gang wars, supernatural secrets, and intertwining storylines slowly pull everyone together in ways nobody saw coming. Durara is generally one of those shows where the more you watch, the more pieces click into place, and that satisfaction hits different. The cast is massive, but each character has their own agenda, their own past, their own reason for being in Ikebukuro, making every episode feel like peeling back another layer. Mikado seems like your average wide-eyed protagonist until he absolutely isn't. This is what I call a great anime.
絶対に世界一のハンターになるから世界一のハンターになって必ず戻ってくるから
Time for another shonen masterpiece. Gon Freese is a 12-year-old kid with one goal: find his dad, Ging, who ditched fatherhood to become a legendary hunter. To do that, Gon decides to take the hunter examination, a brutal test where most applicants end up dead or wishing they were. Along the way, he meets Leorio, a loud medical student, Kurapika, fueled purely by revenge, and Killua, a literal child assassin.
変なテストだね
さしずめ持久力試験ってことか望むところだぜ
Hunter x Hunter earns its legendary status by doing something rare. It constantly defies what you expect. Gon loses. A lot. Power-ups don't magically appear when emotions run high. Villains like Hisoka and the Chimera Ant King aren't just threatening on paper. You genuinely feel the danger they bring every time they appear. The Nen power system also required me to pause and actually think, which is wild for a shonen. The Chimera Ant arc especially hits different. Tackling identity and human nature in most ways, anime doesn't bother attempting. Give it 3 episodes before judging it.
ほほうさては聞いたなあの愛しのエリナのことをそして鉄拳による報復に出ることを考えたわけか
彼女に対する侮辱が許さない
苦しいぞ嫉妬に狂った姿
Hell yeah, bring back those meme glasses because, well, it's JoJo. Come on. It's what created anime memes in the first place. JoJo's bizarre adventure begins in 1868 England, where nobleman George Joestar mistakenly feels indebted to the scheming Dario Brando. When Dario dies, George adopts his son Dio, unknowingly inviting disaster into his home. Dio secretly plots to seize the Joestar fortune by systematically destroying Jonathan's standing in the family. Despite appearing friendly on the surface, their rivalry explodes when George mysteriously falls ill and Jonathan begins suspecting Dio's involvement in something far more sinister.
見せてやるぞゴロつきどもがやる貧民街ブースボクシングの技巧をな味わいな入った
This show is basically a masterclass in making simple characters work brilliantly. Dio is cartoonishly evil from literally age 12, and somehow that makes him more compelling, not less. Jonathan's your classic golden-hearted hero, and Part 2's Joseph Joestar brings enough charisma and wit to carry entire episodes on personality alone. The story never drags, no bloating traded arcs, no unnecessarily stretched fights, just momentum. The budget constraints show occasionally with some stiff animation, but David Production compensates with genuinely creative visual choices that make the show a great entry to the JoJo series.
50mだぞ。やつだ。巨人だ。
Come on, who doesn't know about Attack on Titan? But in case you were living under a rock and didn't have good access to the internet, and this is the first video you decided to watch, here's the recap. Centuries ago, humanity was nearly wiped out by Titans, massive humanoid creatures that eat humans not out of hunger, but seemingly for fun. Survivors retreated behind enormous concentric walls, enjoying a fragile century of peace until a colossal Titan shatters the outermost wall, unleashing chaos. Eren Yeager, watching a Titan devour his mother, vows to eradicate every last one of them.
その日人類は思い出した。奴らに支配されていた恐怖。
Attack on Titan basically broke the internet before breaking the internet was a thing. The suspense builds in ways that make you grip your seat, and just when you think you can breathe, someone gets eaten. Characters like Armin, paralyzed by fear yet pushing forward anyway, makes you genuinely invested. And then you get the female Titan arc, which puts some Hollywood action shows to shame. I don't care what anyone says, Wit Studio nailed the anime adaptation, and that's why this is still one of the best shows any anime newcomer can watch.
やる気らしい。ここで戦うぞ。
Parasitic aliens have invaded Earth, burrowing into human brains and seizing complete control of their hosts. 16-year-old Shinichi Izumi becomes nearly one of their victims, but the parasite misses his brain and instead takes root in his right hand. Now calling itself Migi, the creature is stuck with Shinichi whether it likes it or not.
何やってんだ。
見ての通りさ。勉強だよ。
普通に喋れるようになったんだ。
Parasite is generally one of those shows that grabs you by episode 1 and doesn't let go. The cliffhangers hit hard enough that watching just one episode feels physically impossible. What makes it special though is the slow identity swap happening between Shinichi and Migi. Shinichi gradually loses his empathy, while Migi, a creature that initially treats humans like furniture, starts developing something that looks suspiciously like care. Watching that role reversal unfold is genuinely fascinating, and this show had some heavy blood and gore, but if you like Attack on Titan, you can handle this one. This is the second coming of Jesus for the anime fandom. First, Attack on Titan makes the anime live stream. Then, this comes and does the same job. Saitama is your average bald guy who trains so hard he becomes unbeatable. Literally, one punch and anything dies. Sounds awesome, right? Well, not for Saitama. With zero competition left, he's stuck feeling bored out of his mind. Enter Genos, a teenage cyborg who sees Saitama in action and immediately wants in as his disciple.
一体何者だったんだあの地上人は。俺は趣味でヒーローをやってるもんだ。
One Punch Man is basically anime poking fun at itself, and it works perfectly. The whole premise flips the typical shonen formula on its head. Instead of a underdog grinding to the top, you've got the guy already at the top sulking about it. What makes it genuinely fun is how Saitama's deadpan reactions contrast against increasingly ridiculous villains and dramatic side characters. Every character, even the minor ones, leaves enough of an impression that you'll actually remember them. It's the rare show where you're laughing and going, holy crap, at fight scenes simultaneously. Honestly, writing this, now I feel bad about whatever the heck happened with season 3.
職員の次は中学生かバカにするの
8th grader Shigeo Mob Kageyama is basically a walking nuclear bomb with a bowl cut. He got insane psychic powers but keeps them suppressed because, well, unchecked emotions plus godlike ESP equals catastrophe. His only motivation to use them? Impressing his crush Tsubomi, who gets bored fast. To control his abilities, Mob apprentices under Arataka Reigen, a con artist psychic who exploits Mob for cash. Mob Psycho 100 absolutely slaps, and this is from the same creator of One Punch Man. The character dynamics alone carry this show hard. Mob just wants to be normal, but life keeps dragging him into supernatural chaos, and watching him navigate that struggle alongside genuinely fascinating side characters is what makes it click. Reigen manipulates Mob, but somehow still looks out for him. Ritsuo goes from powerless younger brother to someone clawing his way up through sheer cunning. Even Dimple, a literal spirit with a god complex, ends up rooting for Mob. Oh, and gotta give credit to Studio Bones for the animation. My Hero Academia first came out in 2016, but this tournament arc is what really pushed it to the top. UA's Sports Festival is the biggest event in the hero world. Every aspiring hero shot at fame, recognition, and getting scouted by pros. For Izuku Midoriya, it's also a massive problem. His quirk hits like a freight train, but breaks his body in the process, leaving him to outsmart opponents rather than overpower them. Standing in his way are classmates like the dual-wielding powerhouse Todoroki, whose tragic backstory alone could fill a whole season. Season 2 basically answers every complaint fans had about Season 1 being too short. At 25 episodes, there's actually room to breathe, and the show uses that space well. The sports festival isn't just flashy fights. Each character fights with a reason, making you actually care who wins. Then Hero Killer Stain shows up and flips the whole what even is a hero question on its head in the best way. Sure, some side characters get sidelined, but when the main cast hits this hard, you won't even notice.
僕にはとてもそんなことはできない。てめえはもうやめろ。何もしなければ無害な奴なんだ。てめえはもうおしまいだ。
Yep, JoJo is back again. In the corrupt coastal city of Naples, 15-year-old Giorno Giovanni survives through pickpocketing and odd jobs while secretly harboring an ambitious dream, becoming a gang star. Armed with his stand gold experience, which lets him create life from inanimate objects, Giorno crosses paths with Bruno Bucciaretti, a passionate gang member with his own moral code. What follows is Giorno joining Bruno's crew, navigating gang warfare, protecting a mysterious girl named Trish Una, and quietly plotting to overthrow Passione's shadowy boss from within.
3度目は言わせないでくださいよと頼んだはずだ。何度も言わせるってことは無駄なんだ。
Golden Wind genuinely surprised me with how well it balances its ensemble cast. Bruno's crew aren't just sidekicks. Each member carries a backstory that makes you actually care when things go sideways. The fights stay fresh because every stand ability forces creative problem solving rather than just punching harder. Diavolo, as an antagonist, is genuinely unsettling, his secrecy keeping you hooked. Sure, Giorno himself takes time to warm up to, but the team around him more than compensates.
これは鬼だ。
Oh yeah, it's that show. The show that made Ufotable the next Elon Musk and helped them evade taxes until they got caught up by the Japanese government again. Tanjiro Kamado goes from selling charcoal to swearing revenge after demons slaughter his family and turn his sister Nezuko into one of those very monsters. Rather than abandoning her, Tanjiro joins the Demon Slayer Corps, fighting to both avenge his family and to find a cure for Nezuko, who somehow still protects her brother despite her demon instincts.
感情に任せた単純な攻撃愚か。
Demon Slayer is one of those shows where everything just clicks. Tanjiro actually earns your investment because you watch him struggle through training, lose people, and still push forward without becoming an edgy revenge machine. Nezuko communicates 0 words, yet you completely understand her loyalty to her brother, though every bambooed muzzle expression. Side characters like Zenitsu and Inosuke bring chaotic energy that balances the heavy themes without undermining them. The demons mostly exist to look threatening and die, which is a missed opportunity, but Muzen's cold calculating presence more than compensates.
万が一万が一
Demon Demon Slayer was Uftable's favorite child, and this is Mappa's favorite child. Yuji Itadori is just your average high schooler hanging out with the occult club and visiting his hospitalized grandfather, until he accidentally swallows a cursed finger belonging to Sukuna Ryomen, the king of curses. Suddenly, he's knee-deep in a world of curses, terrifying beings born from human negativity, and gets enrolled in a Tokyo Prefectural Jujutsu High School.
じいちゃんは正しく死ねたと思うよ。決ったこっちのは
JJK earns its hype. Mappa's animation is genuinely insane. Every fight is choreographed so well that even minor skirmishes look like cinematic events. The power system hits that sweet spot where it's layered enough to be exciting but not so complicated you need a spreadsheet. Characters like Nobara giving a thumbs up while getting pulled into a gate instead of screaming for help. That's how you write a compelling cast. Yeah, the story plays it a bit safe and generic, but when everything else fires this hard, does it even matter?
竹道、今日から俺の立ちな。お前がこれの主催？
はい。
Takemichi Hanagaki peaked in middle school. A girlfriend, a crew, respect. Fast forward 12 years and he's a total nobody getting bossed around by someone younger than him. Then news breaks that the Tokyo Manji gang murdered his ex-girlfriend and her brother. Right as a train is about to end his misery, he somehow flashes back 12 years to relive that exact day. He warns Hinata's brother to protect her, snaps back to the present, and discovers he actually changed the future.
君のことは何でも知りたいの。彼女なんだよ。
Tokyo Revengers takes the classic time travel premise and actually does something with it, fresh. The trigger for Takemichi's time leaping, his connection to his ex's brother, isn't something you see often. What hooked me though was watching Takemichi, a guy with zero fighting ability, outmaneuver dangerous gang leaders purely through the relationships he builds. It's basically chess with delinquents. Yeah, the idea of 14-year-olds running criminal empires is hilariously absurd, but once you accept that, the strategic mind games between Takemichi and the antagonist are genuinely interesting. David Martinez is just a broke kid trying to make his mom proud by attending the elite Arasaka Academy in the dystopian Night City. Then a gang attack flips his entire life upside down, leaving him with nothing but rage and a stolen cybernetic spine that lets him move at superhuman speed. One expulsion later, he crosses paths with Lucy, a data thief who pulls him into the underground world of edge runners, cyborg mercenaries who live fast and die faster. Studio Trigger absolutely cooked with this one, and they cooked it in an age when people hated the cyberpunk game. Night City looks insane. Neon-soaked skylines, photorealistic textures bleeding into fluid animation, fight scenes so bloody and fast you'll rewind just to catch what happened. But the visuals aren't carrying a weak story. David's descent actually makes sense. You watch him make choices, but the city never really gave him better options. ここで終わる。はい。なんだ。あれは。Remember how we got bleached several entries ago? Well, it's back again like I promised. Ichigo Kurosaki, substitute Soul Reaper, has been handling hollows threatening Karakura Town alongside his crew, healer Orihime, Powerhouse Sato, and Quincy rival Uruyu. Everything changes when the Waddenreich shows up, led by ancient Quincy King Wyatt, who's dead set on wiping out both the Soul Society and the human world. So, Thousand Year Blood Warriors just casually came back after a decade and said, yeah, we're doing this. The Waddenreich made an immediate statement, disposing captains like it's nothing, and Wyatt genuinely feels terrifying rather than just another final boss. What really hooked me though was the character backstories. Yamamoto, Unohana, Zaraki, and even Ichigo's parents getting their moment. That's the show's reward for longtime fans. This year is gonna have the finale, so be ready for it.
死にたくない。
Humanity's worlds changed when mysterious gate portals to monster-filled dimensions began appearing globally. Alongside them, certain humans awakened as hunters, gifted with superhuman abilities to clear the dungeons within. Sungjin Woo, ranked E-class and considered the weakest hunter alive, stumbles into a nightmare when a routine dungeon run goes horrifically wrong. He barely survives but wakes up with access to a strange interface only he can see, a system that offers him unimaginable power with strings attached.
あまり部外者の俺が出しゃばりたくないが見過ごすわけにはいかない。
So yeah, solo leveling lives up to the hype. I know people started hating the show after the free ring controversy, but you got to give credit where credit is due. This is a great action show. A1 Pictures went absolutely all out. Fight sequences are visually stunning with fluid animation that makes every battle genuinely exciting. Jin Woo himself starts pretty one-dimensional, but watching him shift from a guy who hesitates to kill into someone cold and calculated actually tracks with everything he goes through. Not every anime needs a layered narrative. Sometimes competent execution of a power fantasy is more than enough. Finishing off with the best girl, best anime of 2025. Denji's life as a devil hunter with Public Safety Bureau is finally settling into something resembling normal, until Makima takes him on a date and swears off all other women. That lasts about 5 minutes before he meets Reze, a flirty cafe worker who completely hijacks his heart. But since this is Chainsaw Man, what seems like a simple love triangle quickly spirals into something far more dangerous. Boom. This movie does something most shonen adaptations fumble. It slows down and lets the characters breathe. Reze especially gets the treatment she deserved. The manga kinda glossed over her, but here you actually understand what makes her compelling. The characters don't get spoon-fed backstories either, which keeps you genuinely guessing. Studio Mappa went absolutely feral with the animation. Denji's chainsaw form is hand-drawn this time, and the action sequences look like someone had too much caffeine and unlimited budget. If you haven't watched it, what are you doing? Go watch it right now!